In this video today, we're going to take a look at the recent release of Reason 8.3 and just briefly go over a few of the new features and additions. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in. The biggest thing that was included in this release is the updated RV7000. And if you notice, it does have a different color here. It's blue. But they've also added a convolution engine here for convolution reverb and working with impulse responses. So if you're not aware or you're not familiar with impulse responses, they're basically a recorded sample of an acoustic space. The reverberations from different rooms or spaces can be recorded and then processed in the convolution engine for use in the RV7000. And beyond recording spaces and using these as impulse responses, you can also sample hardware reverb or even a synthesized response. You can also record your own impulse responses, which is one of my favorite things about this. You cannot access that immediately as it is when you initially load the RV7000, but if you click on the unfold button, you'll then have the sample button here, which is available in other samplers within Reason, such as the NNXT here. If I click the unfold button there, you can see this is where you sample live within NNXT. It's the same thing for the RV7000. So you could record, say, a hand clap or just anything with a strong transient, or you can just experiment with different sounds and recording there just by clicking that. So you can, Propellerhead does have impulse responses available for you on their website in the shop. They are for free. I went ahead and downloaded some. So I will just go ahead and load this all film score here. Let's see, how did I get that going? Okay, that's what I want. So I've got that on the grand piano here. I'll bring up my on-screen keyboard. Actually, there we go. Take some of the wetness out of there. Okay, just to give you an idea of what one patch sounds like, if you're using Reason 8, this update is available to you, so just go ahead and download it, and you've got the impulse responses on Reason's website for free, so you can download those there. Now, one other thing about recording your own samples, there is a 12-second limitation, so anything you can only record for 12 seconds or less on that when you are recording your own impulse responses. So anything longer than that is going to be truncated. Also, one other thing to keep in mind is that if you just do a search online for impulse responses, you're going to find tons of them out there that you can then download and use as well. So moving on to the next feature, if we separate the rack out of here, I'll Control F6. Now, the rack is now separate. You can also browse if you're using a second monitor, say, and you drag that over to your second monitor. You can now access the browser. I'll F3 and close that from that detached rack, which I think is very convenient to have and should speed up workflow. So, and I'll Control F6 and just put that back, F6 to maximize the rack again. And so what else do we have? One other awesome thing is, let me bring up another instrument. I'll bring just a Thor, double clicking. You can now choose the MIDI focus for your MIDI controller, or in my instance, I'm using the on-screen panel keys directly from within the rack. So, having the browser in the rack is, if it's separate, is handy. Also, this should also improve workflow. You can see this blue area here, and then within there's a gray arrow. That lets you know that the Thor now has focus for MIDI, any MIDI information that's going to be played into Reason. If I F7 and bring up the sequencer, you can see that it's just the same as within the sequencer here, that same icon there. So if I F4 and bring up my keys, and I'll F6, and so you also have a readout that the MIDI information is being received, the green level indicator, just the same as there in the sequencer. So if I were to click once and select the NNXT, I've got a grand piano loaded. Now I'm still going to, I'll F4 and bring the keys back up. I'm still going to be playing the Thor, because you need to click here within. Now you have the gray arrow. And so you just want to be sure that you've got the gray arrow forever you would like your MIDI information to be sent. Now moving on, we'll F7 and bring up the sequencer. We now have a, I'll also close the browser by hitting F3. And I'm just going to hit the H key on my QWERTY keyboard and zoom out. If you're working with a clip, or a MIDI clip, or an audio clip, or parameter automation clip, you've got it selected here. You can tell by the black borders. You can hit the Z key, and it will then bring that into view, that complete clip into view within the arrange pane. So if I hit G and shrink that out and say I want to bring this audio clip into a wider view within the arrange pane, you can hit Z, okay, and it will zoom it out. So if I hit H and expand it out, I hit Z, it brings the entire clip into view in the arrange pane. Now I'm hitting H to zoom out again. There's also the function available as a button here. So if you click that, it does the same thing. So next we'll talk about the static value. If you're doing any automation, there's a static value for whatever parameter it is that you're editing. So if, let's see, I will F6, I've got the grand piano selected here, the NNXT. I will just I will alt click on the, let's say I'll do the master volume. And when you alt click on the parameters within instruments or effects and some of the features on the mix channel, it will automatically add a lane for you to record parameter automation. So in our situation, it automatically brought up the sequencer and added a lane for the master volume. And you can see we now have a green border letting you know that automation is activated for this, the master volume. Now we don't have anything in there, so let's just, I'll double click and hold on the second click and just draw a clip in there. And I'll hit enter, bring up the pencil tool by hitting W. And so we're still in the arrange view. We're not in the editor. And I'm just, putting that in there with the pencil tool. I'll hit Q to bring back up my selection tool. And as you can see here, we now have the static value available to us. I'll maximize the mixer with F7. Expand this a bit. So in the previous version, you would need to open this parameter clip in edit mode. And to the right here, you can expand that, the master volume. This is the lane that we added. And see here you have the static value, which is essentially what the value for the parameter you're editing is going to return to when your automation that you've recorded or drew in, as I did, is no longer active. And before, you would come in here and adjust. So I'll hit escape, come back out to the arrange view. And so now you can double click on this parameter clip, and you also have it available to you while you're still in the arrange view. And so you can even just double click there and I'll put 50 in, and you can see. I'm not sure if the resolution is good enough in this video, but if you notice there's a gray bar here, that is a visual representation of the static value. So if you take note of that here, I will double click, go back to 100. Now if you take notice, when I hit enter, this line is going to move up. Okay, so we jumped up to here. I hope you can see that. So just easier access, quicker workflow. It's a simple thing, but every little bit helps when you're in the mood of the mind of creating, and you don't want to have to worry about digging too deep into the technical stuff. So one other simple but convenient thing that I like is in the browser, there's now a fold/unfold button for the information area. So if you are someone who doesn't really pay much attention to this area and you'd like more real estate when you're browsing to see more of the patches that are listed, this fold/unfold button, just click there and it drops down. So if I go into my paths, I have a much more what's the word I'm looking for? A broader view of what's available to me, versus if I then, it's a very simple thing, but I actually really like that. Okay, one other bug that I'd like to mention that was fixed that may have been driving some of you crazy is if I F5 and bring up the mixer, I'll F3 and close the browser. And actually, let me bring the sequencer back up and Control T. I want to add some extra tracks in here and go back to the mixer by hitting F5. I just wanted to bring up that scroll bar there. You need to have more tracks in order to have that. There was an issue of the scroll bar covering up the channel strip names. So that has been alleviated. It's no longer an issue. And I just wanted to mention that really quickly. Now I will F7 back to the sequencer. There's also a new function here under File where you can drop your songs to Propellerhead, to their website. They have a music sharing service. So if I go to their website here and this is just their main homepage, I'll click on Discover. You can then see you have other artists uploading their tracks, and they've got a spotlight area. And down below here, there's a feed for, this one here is latest drops. Okay, and just another way to get your music out and share. If you choose to allow them, other people can, collaborate with the songs that you drop to Reason's site or Propellerhead site. And beyond what we've covered, there are a few other things, a few other bug fixes. If you go to the Reason or the Propellerhead website, under the products and Reason, if you scroll down, they do provide you with a complete change list of everything that's been done with the recent update. So I think that's everything I'm going to cover. Feel free to take a look at this list if you'd like. Just know that it's there. Thank you for watching.